My girlfriend declared, "I'm opening up our relationship status, without any mutual agreement first." I responded, "This timing works out beautifully." What her cousin told her the following day about my coffee date had her regretting her hasty announcement. Maya and I had been together for 4 years, the kind of steady relationship where you talk about house down payments and pet adoption timelines, where Sunday mornings meant coffee in bed and debates about which farmer's market had the best organic produce. I thought we were building something solid, something that would last through mortgage applications and family holidays. Then last Tuesday evening, Maya walked into our shared condo with this determined expression I'd never seen before, like she'd rehearsed whatever she was about to say in the mirror for weeks. "Brandon, we need to have a serious conversation about the future of our relationship," she announced, setting her yoga mat down with unusual precision. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing structural plans for a bridge project. "What's on your mind?" She sat across from me on our couch, hands folded in her lap like she was delivering a business presentation. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about personal growth and exploring different aspects of myself. I think we should transition to an open relationship structure." The words hit me like unexpected turbulence on a smooth flight. 4 years together, and she was announcing this like a unilateral policy change. "An open relationship," I repeated slowly. "That's right. We're both still young, and I think it would be healthy for us to experience other connections while maintaining what we have as our primary foundation." The clinical way she spoke made it sound like she'd been researching this decision for months without mentioning it once. I studied her face, looking for any sign of the Maya who used to ask my opinion on everything from restaurant choices to career decisions. "This is something you've decided, not something you're suggesting we discuss." "Well, I mean, we can discuss the logistics and boundaries, but I think this is the direction we need to move in for both of our personal development." Her voice wavered slightly, like she hadn't expected me to pick up on the fact that this wasn't actually a conversation. That's when it clicked. The late-night yoga classes that had started 2 months ago. The way she'd been distant during our usual evening walks. The mysterious text messages she'd started hiding. "You know what, Maya? The timing actually works out beautifully." Her confident expression faltered for just a moment. "What do you mean?" "Luna from my climbing gym has been pretty clear about her interest in getting to know me better. She's been asking if I'd like to grab coffee sometime, and I've been turning her down because I was in a committed relationship. But if we're opening things up, I should probably text her back." Maya's face went through several expressions rapid fire: surprise, concern, then something that looked suspiciously like panic. "Wait, hold on. We should probably establish some ground rules first before either of us starts reaching out to other people." "Ground rules? I thought you said we could discuss logistics after you'd already decided we were doing this." I pulled out my phone and started typing a message to Luna. "What are you doing right now?" Maya's voice had shifted from confident to anxious in record time. "I'm texting Luna to see if she's free for coffee tomorrow." "Isn't this what you wanted?" "I just think we should be more methodical about this transition. Maybe we should both take a few days to think about boundaries and expectations before we start dating other people." The irony was absolutely beautiful. She'd announced this decision like it was already in motion, but the second I showed genuine enthusiasm for her plan, suddenly we needed to pump the brakes. "Maya, you've clearly been thinking about this for a while. I'm just following your lead here." I finished typing the message and hit send. There we go. Luna and I are meeting for coffee at Meridian Roasters tomorrow at 10. "Brandon, I really think we should talk about this more thoroughly first." "What's there to talk about? You said you wanted us to explore other connections." "I'm exploring. Luna's an amazing photographer, and we have incredible conversations about art and outdoor adventures. Plus, she's been incredibly respectful about boundaries, which I appreciate." Maya stared at me like I'd just announced I was moving to another country. "You've been thinking about dating her?" "I've been thinking about how attractive and interesting she is, yes. But I wasn't going to act on it because I was committed to you. Now that you've changed those parameters, I'm excited to see where things go." That night, Maya barely slept. I could hear her tossing and turning, probably realizing that opening our relationship meant I'd be dating other people too, not just graciously accepting whatever she'd already lined up for herself. Coffee with Luna turned into a 3-hour conversation that reminded me what genuine connection actually felt like. She taught rock climbing at the gym on weekends and spent her free time photographing Portland's hidden waterfalls, the kind of person who found beauty in places other people overlooked. "I've noticed you working out alone lately," she mentioned, stirring honey into her cappuccino. Maya's been doing her own thing with Pilates classes. She found this instructor who's apparently revolutionizing her core strength. Luna laughed, this genuine sound that made me realize how long it had been since I'd heard authentic laughter in my own home. Jake Martinez? He's got quite the reputation for intensive one-on-one sessions. The way she said it made me wonder exactly what kind of reputation Jake had, but I was enjoying Luna's company too much to dwell on Maya's fitness choices. We spent the afternoon hiking Forest Park, where Luna showed me photography techniques for capturing light through the canopy. Her passion for art was infectious, and I found myself seeing familiar trails through completely different eyes. Meanwhile, Maya had apparently arranged her own coffee date, though she was significantly less enthusiastic when I asked about it over dinner. "How was your day?" I asked, genuinely curious about how her first open relationship experience had gone. "Fine." Jake and I grabbed lunch after our Pilates session. Nothing too exciting. She pushed her salad around her plate without much interest. Luna and I had an amazing time hiking. She's incredibly talented with landscape photography. We're planning to check out Silver Falls this weekend. Maya's fork paused midair. "This weekend? We usually do grocery shopping and meal prep on Saturdays. You're welcome to join us, or you could spend time with Jake. Isn't that the whole point of this new arrangement?" The following week brought Maya's family barbecue, an annual tradition where her extended family gathered to grill overpriced steaks and discuss real estate market trends. Maya insisted I attend, probably wanting to maintain the illusion that everything was perfectly normal in our relationship. She spent the entire afternoon practically draped over me, holding my hand with unusual intensity and making exaggerated comments about our future plans. "Brandon's been so supportive of my personal growth journey," she announced to her Aunt Patricia while squeezing my arm possessively. "We're exploring new dimensions of our relationship together." Her cousin Alex raised an eyebrow at Maya's theatrical performance. "New dimensions? That sounds very modern of you both." "Oh yes, we're both very open-minded about expanding our horizons," Maya continued, her laugh pitched slightly too high. The irony of her public display wasn't lost on me. At home, she'd been increasingly distant and distracted, but in front of her family, she was performing the role of devoted girlfriend with Oscar-worthy commitment. During a quiet moment by the dessert table, Alex pulled me aside. "Maya seems a little intense today. Everything okay with you too?" I considered how to answer diplomatically. "We're figuring some things out. Nothing major. She keeps talking about personal growth and new experiences. Sounds like she's been reading too many self-help books." If only he knew. That evening, Maya was unusually quiet during our drive home. "You were different today," she finally said as we pulled into our parking space. "Different how?" "Less engaged. Like your mind was somewhere else." "I was thinking about Luna, actually. She mentioned wanting to try that new Ethiopian restaurant downtown, and I was wondering if you'd have any objections to me taking her there next week." Maya's jaw tightened visibly. "That's our place. We discovered that restaurant together." "It's a public restaurant, Maya. I can't exactly reserve every location where we've had a meal. It just feels weird, you taking her to places that are meaningful to us. Then maybe you should have considered that before deciding we should see other people." The silence stretched between us for the rest of the evening, Maya scrolling through her phone with increasing frustration while I researched camera equipment Luna had mentioned wanting to try. Sunday morning brought the text that changed everything. I was making coffee when my phone buzzed with a message from Maya's cousin Alex. "Dude, I saw you at Meridian Bistro yesterday with that gorgeous brunette. Maya know you're dating her boss's daughter?" I stared at the screen, processing what Alex had just revealed. Luna's mother was Victoria Chen, the senior partner at Chen & Associates Real Estate Development, the same company where Maya worked as a project coordinator. I'd known Luna's last name was Chen, but Portland had plenty of Chens, and I'd never connected the dots. Maya emerged from our bedroom looking like she'd barely slept, heading straight for the coffee maker without making eye contact. That's when her phone started buzzing with what sounded like an emergency. "Alex, what are you talking about?" she answered, her voice still rough from sleep. I watched her face transform from confusion to horror as Alex apparently explained what he'd witnessed. Victoria Chen's daughter? Are you absolutely certain? Maya's eyes found mine across the kitchen, and I saw the exact moment she realized the implications. Brandon, she said after hanging up, her voice carefully controlled. We need to talk. Right now. About what? About Luna being my boss's daughter. About how dating her could completely destroy my career prospects in this company. I leaned against the counter, genuinely puzzled by her panic. How would dating Luna affect your job performance? Victoria oversees all the major development projects. If things go badly between you and Luna, or if Luna says something negative about me to her mother, it could tank my entire career path. Maya, you're the one who wanted us to see other people. You don't get to dictate who I date based on your professional concerns. This is different and you know it. This affects my livelihood, my future in the company. So does your relationship with Jake? Presumably. What if his clients at the gym start gossiping about his personal life with their trainer? Maya's face went red. Jake doesn't work in my industry. This is completely different. The only difference is that you didn't bother researching the potential complications of your own choice before you announced it. My phone buzzed with a text from Luna. Coffee again today? I found this amazing spot in the Pearl District. I started typing back immediately. What are you doing? Maya demanded. Confirming my coffee date with Luna. We're meeting at 10:30. Brandon, you cannot seriously continue dating her after what I just told you. Actually, I can. You announced we were in an open relationship. You didn't include a clause about approval processes or professional conflict assessments. Maya grabbed my arm. Please. I'm asking you as someone who's been in your life for 4 years. This could ruin everything I've worked for at Chen and Associates. I gently removed her hand. Maya, where was this level of consideration when you were making unilateral decisions about our relationship status? You didn't ask how I might feel about you dating other people. That's completely different. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you expected me to gracefully accept whatever arrangement benefited you, but now that your plan has unexpected consequences, suddenly we need to negotiate boundaries. The desperation in her voice was becoming more apparent. What if Victoria finds out we're in an open relationship? What if she thinks I'm unprofessional or unstable? Then maybe you should have considered those possibilities before announcing your decision. I finished my coffee and grabbed my jacket. I'm meeting Luna in 40 minutes. We'll probably spend the day exploring some of those photography locations she mentioned. Brandon, I'm begging you. Please don't do this. Do what? Date someone who's kind, intelligent, and genuinely interested in getting to know me? Someone who asks about my engineering projects and remembers details from our conversations. Maya's composure finally cracked completely. Fine. If you're going to be stubborn about this, then I'm going to spend the day with Jake. See how you like it when I'm not sitting around here waiting for you to come home. Have fun, I said, meaning it. Jake seems like a nice enough guy. The look of frustrated confusion on her face as I left was absolutely priceless. She'd expected jealousy, possessiveness, maybe even anger. Instead, I was genuinely encouraging her to enjoy her time with someone else, which clearly wasn't part of whatever script she'd been following. Luna and I spent the entire day at the Japanese garden, where she taught me about composition and natural lighting while we wandered through perfectly manicured landscapes. Her genuine enthusiasm for art was refreshing, and I found myself completely absorbed in her stories about traveling through Southeast Asia to document traditional architecture. We were sharing sushi at a small restaurant in Hawthorne when she mentioned something that made everything click into place. My mom's been asking about you, actually. She thinks it's sweet that someone's finally showing genuine interest in my photography work. Your mom knows about me? Victoria Chen, senior partner at Chen and Associates. She mentioned that one of her project coordinators has a boyfriend named Brandon who works in civil engineering. Small world, right? I nearly choked on my California roll. Maya never mentioned that connection. Maybe she doesn't know? Mom keeps her personal and professional lives pretty separate. Though she did say this Maya person has been distracted at work lately, spending a lot of time on personal phone calls during meetings. Meanwhile, Maya had apparently spent her day with Jake, But when I returned to our condo that evening, she was waiting for me with the kind of manic energy that suggested things hadn't gone according to her plans. "We need to talk," she announced before I'd even closed the door. "About what?" "About everything. About this whole open relationship experiment and how it's affecting both of us." I sat down across from her, genuinely curious where this conversation was heading. "I'm listening." Jake and I had a long conversation today about expectations and boundaries, and I realized I might have rushed into this decision without fully considering all the implications. The careful way she was choosing her words suggested she'd rehearsed this conversation during her drive home. What kind of implications? Well, for starters, I've been emotionally involved with Jake for about 2 months now. We met at the Pilates studio, and things developed pretty naturally from there. I thought opening our relationship would make everything less complicated, but instead it's created this whole web of potential problems. There was the confession I'd been waiting for. 2 months. So you were essentially having an affair and decided to retroactively legitimize it by announcing we were open. Maya's face flushed. It wasn't an affair. Nothing physical happened until after we had our conversation about opening things up. Maya, emotional affairs are still affairs. You developed feelings for someone else while we were supposedly committed to each other, then announced a unilateral policy change to make your behavior acceptable. I know how it looks, but I genuinely thought this would be better for both of us. I thought you'd benefit from exploring other connections too. And now that I'm actually doing that, you've realized you don't like the arrangement you created. Maya stood up and started pacing around our living room. It's not that I don't like it. It's that Luna being Victoria's daughter creates complications I didn't anticipate. Complications for you, specifically. Complications for both of us. What if things don't work out between you two? What if there's drama that spills over into my professional life? I watched her pace, noting how her concern was entirely focused on potential negative consequences for herself. Maya, did it occur to you that things might work out beautifully between Luna and me? That I might be genuinely happy with someone who appreciates my interests and actually wants to spend time together? She stopped pacing. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've enjoyed every moment I've spent with Luna. She asks about my engineering projects, remembers details from our conversations, and shares her passions with genuine enthusiasm. When was the last time you showed that kind of interest in anything I cared about? That's not fair. I've always been supportive of your career. Maya, you've been distracted and distant for months. The only time you show me affection anymore is when other people are watching, like at your family barbecue yesterday. The fight escalated from there, with Maya oscillating between tearful apologies and angry accusations that I was being deliberately cruel by continuing to see Luna. "You're punishing me," she finally said, tears streaming down her face. "You're dating her specifically to hurt me professionally. I'm dating her because she's amazing and I enjoy her company. Your professional concerns are your problem to solve, not mine to accommodate." The next 2 weeks brought a level of drama I hadn't experienced since high school. Maya started showing up at my engineering firm during lunch breaks, ostensibly to talk things through, but actually creating awkward situations for my colleagues who knew nothing about our relationship status change. "Brandon, your girlfriend is here again," my project manager Tom mentioned with obvious confusion after Maya's third unannounced visit. "She seems pretty upset about something." I found her in the lobby, pacing frantically while other visitors stared at her obvious distress. "Maya, you can't keep showing up at my workplace. This is inappropriate. I need to know where you stand on this Luna situation. My job performance is suffering because I'm constantly worried about what you two are doing together." That sounds like a you problem that requires a you solution. Don't be flippant about this. Victoria asked me yesterday if everything was okay at home because I seemed distracted during project meetings. If she finds out about the open relationship, it'll look completely unprofessional. The irony was remarkable. Maya's own behavior was creating the professional problems she was desperately trying to avoid. Maybe you should focus on doing better work instead of monitoring my dating life. That evening, I discovered she'd contacted our landlord with concerns about my mental stability and erratic behavior, apparently hoping to create leverage for having me removed from our lease. Our property manager, Mrs. Rodriguez, called to schedule a welfare check meeting. "Your girlfriend is worried about you, Brandon. She mentioned some relationship issues that are affecting your judgment and decision-making capabilities. I had to explain the situation diplomatically, assuring Mrs. Rodriguez that I was perfectly stable and that Maya was dealing with some personal stress that was affecting her perspective on our living situation. She suggested that you might be better off living somewhere else while you work through whatever's happening between you two. Mrs. Rodriguez, I've lived here for 3 years without any problems. My rent is always on time, I've never had noise complaints, and I maintain the apartment well. I'm not planning to move. Meanwhile, Luna and I were developing something genuinely meaningful. We spent Saturday morning at the farmer's market, where she photographed vendors setting up their displays while I helped her carry equipment. Her passion for capturing authentic moments was infectious, and I found myself seeing Portland through completely different eyes. Your girlfriend seems lovely, the elderly woman selling organic honey mentioned as Luna paid for a small jar. We're not exactly, it's complicated, I responded, realizing I had no simple way to explain our situation. Well, whatever it is, she makes you smile in a way that seems genuine. That afternoon, Luna suggested we meet her mother for coffee, partly to address the elephant in the room about Maya's employment situation. Victoria Chen was gracious but direct, the kind of person who succeeded in real estate development by addressing problems head-on rather than dancing around them. Brandon, I want you to know that your relationship with Luna has no bearing on Maya's professional standing in my company. However, Maya's recent behavior during work hours has become a concern. What kind of behavior? Personal phone calls during client meetings, distracted performance on project deadlines, and yesterday she asked if I had any opinions about open relationships and workplace boundaries. That conversation was unusual. Luna squeezed my hand under the table. Mom, maybe Maya's just going through some personal stress. Perhaps. But professionalism means managing personal stress in ways that don't affect work quality or create uncomfortable situations for colleagues. Victoria's message was clear. Maya's job security depended entirely on Maya's own professional conduct, not on my dating choices. The relief was enormous. I'd been worried that my relationship with Luna might somehow jeopardize Maya's career, but Victoria had essentially confirmed that Maya was jeopardizing her own career through her behavior. That evening, I tried to reassure Maya that her job was safe regardless of my relationship with Luna. Victoria explicitly said that our dating has no impact on your professional standing. You talked to my boss about our personal situation? Brandon, that's completely inappropriate. She's also Luna's mother. It came up naturally during coffee, and she addressed it directly to eliminate any awkwardness. Maya's face went white. You had coffee with Victoria Chen? What did you tell her? Nothing about you specifically. She mentioned that you seem stressed lately and asked if there was anything affecting your focus at work. This is a disaster. She's going to think I'm completely unprofessional and unstable. Maya, the only person affecting your professional reputation is you. The breaking point came the following Thursday when I returned from work to find Maya had changed the locks on our condo. I stood in the hallway with my key that no longer worked, calling her phone while neighbors walked past giving me sympathetic looks. Maya, what exactly are you trying to accomplish here? I need space to think without you constantly coming and going at all hours, disrupting my ability to process what's happening to our relationship. It's my apartment too. My name is on the lease, and I pay half the rent. You can stay at Luna's place while we figure this situation out. I'm sure she'd love to have you there full-time. The pettiness was breathtaking, but I wasn't about to engage in a hallway argument with someone who'd apparently lost all perspective on reasonable adult behavior. I called our property manager, who confirmed that Maya had no legal right to change locks without my consent and arranged for emergency access within 2 hours. While waiting, I texted Luna about the situation. Her response was immediate. That's completely unhinged behavior. Do you need somewhere to stay while you sort this out? I declined her offer but appreciated the support. When Mrs. Rodriguez arrived with replacement keys, she looked genuinely concerned. Brandon, this kind of domestic disruption isn't something we typically see from stable tenants. Are you sure everything's okay? Maya's dealing with some personal stress that's affecting her judgment. I'm hoping she'll stabilize once she works through whatever's bothering her. That evening, Maya emerged from our bedroom like nothing unusual had happened. How was your day? She asked as if she hadn't literally locked me out of my own home. Interesting. I learned that changing locks without your co-tenant's consent is considered harassment under Oregon rental law. Her casual demeanor shifted immediately. I wasn't harassing you. I just needed some private time to think. Maya, you can't unilaterally decide I don't live here anymore because you're having emotional difficulties. Meanwhile, my colleagues at work had started asking discreet questions about my personal situation. Tom pulled me aside during our Friday tea meeting. Everything all right at home? You seem stressed lately, and that whole situation with your girlfriend showing up here was pretty unusual. I gave him the abbreviated version: relationship difficulties, working through some boundary issues, hopefully resolving soon. But internally, I was starting to recognize that Maya's behavior had escalated beyond normal relationship conflict into something genuinely unstable. That weekend, Luna and I drove to Cannon Beach for her photography project documenting coastal erosion patterns. Watching her work was fascinating. She approached each shot with scientific precision while maintaining artistic vision. We spent hours walking the shoreline while she explained how changing tide patterns affected the landscape over decades. You seem more relaxed today, she observed as we sat on a driftwood log sharing Thai takeout. Getting away from the drama helps. Maya's been creating a lot of chaos lately. What kind of chaos? I told her about the lock-changing incident, the workplace visits, the landlord calls. Luna listened without judgment, but her expression grew increasingly concerned. Brandon, that behavior sounds really controlling and manipulative. Have you considered that maybe this isn't just stress about work? What do you mean? I mean, maybe Maya's showing you who she really is when she doesn't get her way. People reveal their true character during conflicts. That Monday brought disturbing news from Maya's workplace. She'd apparently had a meltdown during a client presentation, crying in front of potential investors and creating an extremely awkward situation for everyone involved. Victoria called me directly, which felt surreal but necessary. Brandon, I'm reaching out because Maya listed you as her emergency contact, and I'm genuinely concerned about her well-being. She broke down during our Morrison development presentation this morning. What happened exactly? She started crying mid-sentence while discussing timeline projections, then excused herself and didn't return. The clients were confused and uncomfortable. I found her in the bathroom 20 minutes later, completely distraught about personal relationship issues affecting her ability to concentrate. Victoria's tone was professionally sympathetic but clearly strained. I've suggested she take some personal time to address whatever's happening in her life, but she insisted that wouldn't solve the underlying problems. I appreciate you calling. Maya's been dealing with some relationship stress, but I didn't realize it was affecting her work so dramatically. Brandon, as Luna's mother, I like you personally. As Maya's supervisor, I need to tell you that her professional conduct has become a serious concern. She's missed 3 client meetings this month, and today's incident was witnessed by major potential clients. The implication was clear. Maya's job was genuinely at risk, not because of my relationship with Luna, but because of her own deteriorating professional performance. By Tuesday evening, I'd made my decision. I called my friend Marcus, who owned a moving truck, and arranged to collect my belongings while Maya was at work. 4 years of shared possessions took surprisingly little time to sort through once I focused on what was actually mine versus what belonged to our coupled life together. I found her phone hidden under a stack of magazines, still logged into her text messages with Jake. The conversation history revealed everything I'd suspected but hadn't wanted to confirm. 2 months of increasingly intimate messages, complaints about my boring predictability, and detailed plans for their relationship once she'd handled the Brandon situation gracefully. I can't wait until this whole mess is resolved and we can be together properly, read one message from 3 weeks ago. He's being so difficult about everything, like he doesn't understand that some people outgrow their relationships naturally. Jake's responses were less romantic than Maya probably hoped. Yeah, transitions are complicated. Speaking of which, I should mention that I'm also seeing 2 other women right now. I hope that doesn't create problems for us. The thread continued with Maya trying to negotiate exclusivity while Jake repeatedly explained that he preferred keeping things casual with multiple people. By last week, their conversations had taken a distinctly different tone. Maya, I think you misunderstood what I was looking for. I'm not interested in replacing your current relationship with something equally committed. But we talked about building something real together once I was free to focus on us properly. I think we had different interpretations of those conversations. I enjoy spending time with you, but I'm not looking for anything exclusive or serious right now. The devastation in Maya's most recent messages was obvious. Her entire plan had backfired spectacularly. She torpedoed our 4-year relationship for someone who'd never intended to offer her the commitment she'd assumed was guaranteed. I took screenshots of the relevant conversations, not for revenge, but for clarity about what had actually happened versus Maya's revised narrative about mutual exploration and personal growth. Marcus helped me load my engineering books, computer equipment, and furniture into his truck while I tried to process the full scope of Maya's deception. "Dude, this is some next-level manipulation," he said after I explained the situation. "She basically blew up your relationship for a guy who was never planning to catch her." That afternoon, I found a furnished studio apartment in the Pearl District, walking distance from several coffee shops Luna and I had discovered together. The landlord was refreshingly straightforward about lease terms and didn't require extensive personal references or emotional stability assessments. Maya returned to our former condo around 6, probably expecting to find me waiting anxiously for permission to collect my belongings. Instead, she found empty closets, missing furniture, and a note explaining that I'd moved out permanently. Her phone calls started immediately, cycling through the predictable emotional stages: confusion, anger, bargaining, desperation. "Brandon, we can work through this. I made mistakes, but we can rebuild what we had." "Maya, you spent 2 months planning your exit strategy with Jake while pretending to be committed to me. That's not a mistake, that's a deliberate deception. I never meant for things to get so complicated. Jake wasn't supposed to be just a casual thing. So you admit this was all about transitioning from me to him, and the open relationship was just cover for your affair." The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if she'd hung up. I thought I loved him. I thought he wanted the same future I did. What future was that exactly? The one where you quit your job to become an influencer while he supported you financially. How did you know about that? "Maya, I lived with you for 4 years. I know how your mind works when it comes to long-term planning and financial security." Victoria called me that Friday with professional updates that felt surreal but necessary. Maya submitted her resignation this morning, effective immediately. She mentioned needing to focus on personal issues and exploring alternative career paths. Is she eligible for rehire? Based on her recent performance issues and the circumstances of her departure, that seems unlikely. She left several projects unfinished and didn't provide adequate transition documentation. Luna and I spent that weekend apartment hunting together, not for shared living space, but to help me find a permanent place that reflected my actual preferences rather than compromises with Maya's expensive tastes. We found a perfect 1-bedroom in Hawthorne with natural light for her photography visits and space for my drafting table. "You seem different," Luna observed as we walked through the empty rooms. "More relaxed, like you can finally breathe properly." I feel like I've been holding my breath for months without realizing it. That evening, Maya showed up at my new apartment building, somehow having tracked down my address through methods I preferred not to contemplate. "Brandon, I need you to understand that I never meant for any of this to hurt you. Everything got so complicated so quickly. Maya, you orchestrated this entire situation. You chose to have an emotional affair, you chose to announce the open relationship, and you chose to create drama at work. Those weren't accidental complications. I know I handled things badly, but we had something real for 4 years. That has to count for something." I looked at her standing in my doorway, mascara smudged from crying, designer purse clutched like a life preserver. "Maya, what we had was real for me. But for you, it was apparently just a placeholder until something shinier came along." The finality in my voice seemed to register with her for the first time. "Jake was a mistake. A terrible mistake. But you and Luna, that's real too, isn't it?" "Yes, it's real. And honest. And built on actual mutual respect rather than manipulation and deception." "So that's it? For years, and you're just walking away?" "Maya, you walked away 2 months ago when you started planning your future with Jake. I'm just catching up to where you've already been emotionally." I closed the door gently but firmly, listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway. 3 months later, Luna and I were planning a weekend trip to document the wildflower blooms in the Columbia River Gorge when I heard through mutual friends that Maya had moved back in with her parents in Beaverton. Apparently, Jake had ended things completely after her workplace meltdown, and she'd been unable to find another position in real estate development. Her Instagram had shifted from luxury lifestyle posts to inspirational quotes about resilience and new beginnings. Do you ever feel guilty about how things ended? Luna asked as we planned our photography route. I feel sorry that she made choices that hurt herself so badly. But guilty? She created this situation, and I just refuse to enable her manipulation. Luna nodded, understanding in the way that emotionally healthy people do. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone experience the consequences of their actions instead of protecting them from reality. 6 months after Maya's open relationship announcement, I woke up in my own apartment, made coffee with someone who genuinely wanted to be there, and realized that everything had worked out exactly as it should. Maya had gotten the freedom she demanded, and I'd gotten the chance to find someone who actually appreciated what I had to offer. The timing really had worked out beautifully, just not in the way Maya had planned.